Episode 8 of the Americas is called the Caribbean. And since this is an episode about the Caribbean, as you'd expect, the music at the start of the episode was very reminiscent of the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. There was even a ship going past when it played. I actually expected the Pirates of the Caribbean theme to actually get played in this episode, and there was other sequences in the episode which had music that was kind of linked to films, which I did quite enjoy, even though it was a little bit cheesy. But the first major bit of footage we get here is sailfish. We see sailfish hunting sardines. It's a baitball sequence, and, like all baitball sequences, it's kind of the same. You know how it's going. It's filmed very well. The sailfish look really cool. I think we did see a lot of sailfish in Blue Planet, to be honest, so I don't feel like I got anything new. And to be honest, I've still got PTSD from that episode, which was just baitball after baitball after baitball. But overall, it was a good way of opening the episode. And to be fair, because this series hasn't done a huge amount that's groundbreakingly new, I kind of expected there to be a baitball sequence in it at some point, so it wasn't a great shock. It was fine. And then we move on to sperm whales. So the sperm whale sequence was pretty interesting. They made a big point of talking about how we're going to see some really groundbreaking footage, never before seen stuff. We see a family and a calf. The family are sleeping, the calf's getting its milk, and then the adults dive to hunt for squid. They make a point of showing you the behind the scenes of this, getting the suction cameras on the sperm whales. It's never been done before, it's never been filmed before. However, this sequence popped up in mammals last year. So while they were realistically filmed at the same time, and I do think similar crews were probably used, you do find that in these series that come out around the same time or within a year of each other do tend to have similar sequences. And I do wonder if it is, the same team out there filming it. It was just using different sequences that they got. To be fair, it is a lot more pristine. You see the sperm whales interacting with each other, and they do focus quite heavily on the ink that comes out when they do catch the squid. They don't talk about hunting giant squid like the mammals did. It's probably more realistic. I mean, yeah, well, we all think that sperm whales only eat giant squid. Giant squid is a part of their diet. They will eat any squid, and to be fair, normal squid are probably an easier catch than giant squid. So yeah, while I had seen this sequence before in another series, it was still great. I will say though that I did feel that this sequence in mammals was more special because it was actually the first time, whereas this obviously is a year later, and it just isn't. And maybe if this had come out a year ago, it would have been a different story. But as it stands, it isn't. But overall, it is still really cool. And the fact that we've got two sequences that deal with the same thing from two different series is pretty cool, because I never thought we'd ever be able to film this. So, it is pretty good. So I did enjoy that as well. And then we go to the coral reefs, and the music here is very reminiscent of Finding Nemo. Then we go to the mangroves, and we see lemon sharks. So lemon sharks are a species that I think of when I think of the Caribbean. I think because I saw it in Deadly 60 years ago when they were filming in the Bahamas. But here we see a female give birth to her young, and the young have to basically figure out how to be a shark in the mangroves. And it's really nice. We see the sharks interacting with each other. They basically learn from each other. That's quite cool. It was a good sequence. What I did find really funny though was they talk about the sharks got these predators and they've got to hide in amongst the mangrove roots to escape them. And the shot of the predator they're showing is a nurse shark, which has no teeth. So I did find that quite funny. Then we go to Cuba and we see the red crabs. So we haven't really seen red crabs in Cuba before, but we have seen them in Christmas Island in Australia, and it's basically the same kind of thing. They live on land, but when the females are egg laden, they have to go down to the shore to release their young into the ocean. We see them tackling cars as well, a lot of them get run over. It's a sequence that I feel like could have been more emotional. They kind of played it somewhere between high octane and funny, which also kind of works, but I do feel like there's a sadder story in here, how all the crabs are getting run over because they're not used to the roads, and I don't know how it impacts their population. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I imagine it must do, surely. I find that quite interesting that the last episode had too many emotional sequences that really didn't warrant it, whereas this one didn't really have any, and I feel like it could have had some. The balance has been a bit off of the series, but the red crabs were cool. I mean, it was nice seeing them, so yeah, I like that as well. And then we talk about hurricanes. We see how hurricanes are really bad in this part of the world. Nothing we didn't know before, but again, the shots of the hurricanes from above are pretty cool. And then we see hummingbirds. We talk about the purple-throated hummingbird, how 2/3 of the species were wiped out at one point, but the ones that were left were able to find these flowers and sort of recover. Again, it's quite interesting. It highlights how fragile life is in the islands, so that's quite cool. And we wrap up with capuchin monkeys. We see two capuchin monkeys that have been marooned on an island, and it does feel a bit kind of Robinson Crusoe almost. Like they're beachcombing, you do feel like they're just surviving, like they're not really meant to be there. And they find these nuts and they're able to crack them with the rocks. Now, considering we'd already had music that was kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean theme and the Finding Nemo theme, I was fully expecting the music that got played during this sequence to be very reminiscent of the music at the opening of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it absolutely was. So yeah, no disappointments there. We saw capuchin monkeys doing this in life way back when, but they were different species, so it is cool to see that other monkeys do this. So that was a good way of ending the episode, I thought. So yeah, this episode is alright. It's a fine episode. Like most of the series, nothing that was absolutely, groundbreakingly amazing, but it was still good, I thought. I think the highlights for me were the sperm whales. As much as I think that, it didn't feel as special as the one in mammals, it was still really cool, so I really liked that as well. So yeah, what did you think of this episode? Did you think the same as me? Did you like it? Did you not? What were your highlights? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be doing the next one next week, whoever it is. If there's only 2 more to go, so I feel like one of them is going to be Patagonia and one of them is going to be like California or something. Look forward to whichever one of those it's going to be. I don't know. And yeah, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, or don't if you don't want to. It's perfectly fine. And I'll see you next week, and goodbye.